Why has it happened that in the East religion came to its highest flowering, and in the West the same has happened to science? Is there some difference of consciousness between the Eastern man and the Western man?
Consciousness is one and can only be one. It is just like the light. East and West make no difference at all. Geography has no concern as far as consciousness is concerned. But it is true that in the East, religion blossomed, reached to highest peaks. The same was not the case with science in the East. It began its journey, but it never reached to the peaks the same way as religion has reached. Just the opposite has happened in the West. Religion is still primitive, just the beginnings, while science has taken a tremendous flight. Naturally, the question is very relevant, but it has nothing to do with any difference between Eastern and Western man and his consciousness. It has to do with some other factors. One thing that is most significant to understand is that religion happens only when a civilization, a culture reaches to the state of ultimate luxury, the omega point beyond which you cannot conceive things can be better. All your physical needs are fulfilled. All your psychological needs are fulfilled. Only then one starts feeling the spiritual urge. Religion, in fact, is the only luxury, because it happens when you are rich in every possible way. Blessed are not the poor, because they shall never know the kingdom of God. The question of inheritance does not arise. Blessed are the rich, rich in every dimension of life. They need not bother about God. The kingdom of God is theirs, not God's. But the basic thing is the richness in all dimensions. This will help you to understand why East and West have developed differently. East is very ancient. Western history starts with Jesus Christ. That's why you use before Christ, after Christ. Christ is the demarcating line. Before Christ, it is prehistory, mythology. There is no evidence for it. After Christ, things start becoming more factual. You have evidences for them. But Christ is only 2000 years old. Where the Western history begins, East has almost reached centuries before to its highest peak of material richness in all dimensions. Not only it had reached to its ultimate peak of development, it has also fallen down. This all happened before West starts its history. In comparison to East, West is childless. East is ancient. This is the reason why religion reached to its highest peak in the East. Science began there. For example, arithmetic began in India. Many centuries before Jesus Christ. Astronomy began in India. Many centuries before Jesus Christ. Medicine began in India. printing, the mechanism to print began in China 1000 years before Jesus Christ. Guns, machine guns, all were invented in China. If we look into the past of the East, there is every evidence that they might have invented something like aeroplanes. There is so much evidence that it cannot be simply overlooked. As far as their richness is concerned, India was known all over the world as a golden bird. Columbus, who stumbled and discovered America, was not trying to discover America. Remember, he had started his journey to go to India. There was connections between the West and India. Columbus was trying to reach India from a new route because of scientific discovery of the fact that the earth is a globe. He thought if it is a globe, then even if you move in the opposite direction, sooner or later you will reach India. And if you go on moving, finally you will come back to your home, because the earth is round. And when he saw for the first time American soil, he thought it was India. He has reached India. That's why those poor people of America are still called Red Indians. They don't like it. They have never called themselves Red Indians. They are not Indians. It was Columbus' mistake that they are still carrying. Columbus thought he has arrived in India from the long route and proving the theory that the earth is round. Everybody who had any adventurous spirit was headed towards India, because all kinds of riches were there. Easily available. At the time of Mahabharata, that happened 3,000 years before Jesus Christ. We have enough evidence that something like nuclear weapons were used. So it is not that science had not developed, but it was prevented. Its direction was changed. Seeing its destructiveness, seeing that it is against ecology, seeing that sooner or later it will destroy humanity itself, all scientific movement was directed into dimensions. For example, yoga, tantra, Ayurveda, these are all scientific methods, but not against nature, not against man. Creative. And of course, people were so rich, and the soil was so rich and fertile, and the population was so small, and the land was so vast. You will be surprised that even my maternal grandfather had received land free from the government, because the land was so much and people so few. It was difficult to find market for land. Just my maternal grandfather, it is not very long, at the most 100 years. Just 100 years before, 1,500 acres of land given by the government, free of charge. And that was the way. In India, even in my early childhood, milk was freely available. To think of selling milk was inhuman, ugly. There was so much milk in the country. That for the simple reason, who was going to purchase it? And secondly, to sell milk looks bad, because milk is nourishment. and somebody is in need of nourishment and you are doing business. You are trying to exploit his hunger, his thirst. Food was not sold. If you asked for food, you were invited to be a guest. And this was in my childhood, just 50 years before. I have seen my own mother distributing milk, because the milk was so much what to do with it. Every morning there used to be a queue in my house of people who don't have their own cows to receive milk, and as much they wanted. This can give you an idea what it would have been in Buddha's time. Now India's population is 40 times more than Buddha's time. Naturally, the land has become poor. People are starving and dying. What to say of not selling milk? In the famine of Bengal, mothers sold their own children. Looking at India today, you cannot comprehend what this country was in the past. Millions of monks, Buddhist, Hindu, Jaina, they all lived without doing anything. Only a very rich country can afford. Otherwise, who is going to give these millions of people clothes, shelter, food? And they were not productive in any way. They were not doing anything. But they were not thought to be beggars, remember. They were respected. They were almost worshipped. If they received food from you, you will be certainly surprised that first the monk is willing to receive food from you is a great blessing to you. He receives the food from you and eats it. You have to be grateful. The monk never will thank you. You have to thank the monk. A strange tradition was there that first you give the food. You are fortunate if the monk accepts it. then because he has accepted it, you give something as a symbol for your gratitude. That is called dakshina. The country must have been immensely rich. Jaina monks used to go from one house to another, and people were standing in front of their houses welcoming them, but they had a certain idea that in their morning meditation they will decide where they are going to accept the food, what kind of a house, what kind of a situation. That was part of their religion. Because if existence wants you to live, it will provide the situation. If existence does not want you to live, it will not provide the situation. Strange situations they will imagine, and they will go round the town. And everybody was begging them, but they will look for their situation. If the situation was fulfilled, they will receive. Otherwise, they will come without food. The whole town will feel sad, unfortunate that a monk has returned without food. That simply shows that we are unfortunate people. A blessing that could have happened, we have missed. This luxurious, rich country was not only luxurious and rich in money, in gold, in precious diamonds, stones. It was also rich in music. It created one of the most perfect science of music. In 5,000 years, nothing has been added to it, because it reached to such perfection, there is no possibility to add anything to it. For 5,000 years, thousands of musicians have tried to do something more, to bring something more to music, and have failed. And I don't see that there is any possibility. It simply reached its perfection. Whatever you can do is only new combinations, which are not in any way new, just from the old you gather fragments and make a new combination, a new composition, but not creation. language reached its peak. There is no other language in the world which is more scientific than Sanskrit. It is so scientific that you cannot find fault with it. Every other language in the world looks very immature compared to Sanskrit. For example, you can see in English, you pronounce a word in one way, you spell it in another. Now, what kind of stupidity is this? In Sanskrit, you spell the word the way you pronounce. This should not be true, because this is unnecessary and very unscientific. It is creating unnecessary troubles for people. Sanskrit perhaps is the only language you can learn perfectly just by reading. You cannot do that with any other language. I don't know much of English. I know enough to hit people. But that is not much. But one thing I can see, that English grammarians, linguist experts are not able to answer. BUT is but, and PUT is put. That seems to be strange. Either BUT should be but, or PUT should be pat. There is no way to explain all these. In science, in Sanskrit, you cannot find a single example in which there is any difference between the pronunciation and the spelling. In English, you have only 26 letters in the alphabet. Sanskrit has 52. Just the double amount of English. There cannot be more than 52. That's why Sanskrit has stopped at 52. That exhausts the possibility of all kinds of sounds. 52 is the limit. 26 is just the minimum, not the maximum. Hence it is such a difficulty to translate Sanskrit words into English are just to write them in Roman letters, because in English there is only one S. In Sanskrit there are three. Very subtle phonetic differences. But there are. Sanskrit reached also, according to the Western historians, in some prehistorical age. To its ultimate peak of refinement. Since then there has been no change. Not that they are against change, you cannot change. It has been refined to the very last. All finishing touches have been done 5,000 years before. People were scientific, but their devotion was for human growth in music, in art, in poetry, in drama, in dance. In India, there are so many schools of dance, centuries old. So many schools of music, centuries old. And the teaching of dance or drama is not the way it is in the West. It is very religious. The man who teaches you drama, dance, music is as much respected as a master has to be respected. And he is a master. Because music is not only music, it is deep down meditation. It is music used for meditation. You may have come to learn music, you will return with something more precious than you have ever imagined. Music, of course, you will learn. But side by side, something will start growing in you, which is far more musical, which is the music of silence. Ordinary music is music of sound. It is just playing with sound, creating rhythm with sound. Meditation is the rhythm of silence. Unless a master can teach music plus meditation, he is not really a maestro. He is only a teacher, a mere teacher of music. He becomes a master of music when his music is just an instrument to teach, to create the space called meditation. The same is true about dance. The same is true about all arts. Great sculpture exists, unparalleled anywhere else. But all the sculpture is devoted basically to meditation in some way or other. You can see a Roman sculpture, naked man, pornographic. And why naked men? Because Romans were homosexuals. They thought the woman is not beautiful. The male, athletic male, was thought to be the pinnacle of beauty. Hence, you will not find in Roman sculpture women represented at all. The same was the case in Greece. And you will be surprised that even people like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle were all homosexuals. Homosexuality was thought to be a refinement, a more cultured thing, because heterosexuality exists in animals. That is nothing special. The logic is perfect. All animals are heterosexual. So what is great in it? If man is heterosexual, he is just an animal. That's how Aristotle has defined man, that man is only a political animal. In every other aspect he is animal, only politics is something that is more a plus factor. But in India, you will find a sculpture thousandfold bigger, millions of temples with tremendously beautiful statues of men, of women, but all devoted basically to meditation. Just looking at the statue of a Buddha, you will feel some serenity within you. The proportion of the Buddha, the body, the posture, the way he is sitting, the half-closed eyes. You just sit silently, look at the statue, and you will start falling into a silence. Gurdjieff used to call Eastern art objective art. and Western art subjective art. He means by objective art, art that has some intrinsic quality which can be imparted for thousands of years. It is a code word. After experiencing meditation for thousands of years, meditators have come to recognize that a certain posture, a certain way of sitting, a certain way of the eyes can create in anybody a synchronicity, a sympathy, something sympathetic note can be stirred by the statue. In the East, the statue is not made for its own sake. It is made as a code language for centuries to follow. Scriptures may disappear. Languages may change. Words may be interpolated. Doctrines wrongly interpreted, commented. There may be dispute about theories, and there has been. So they thought there must be a separate way than language. Now what dispute can be there about the statue of a Buddha or Mahavira? There is no question of dispute. There is no need of any commentary. Anybody who is capable of sitting silently by the side of this statue will have a certain thing stirred in his heart. This is objective art. Picasso's pictures are subjective. Seeing a painting of Picasso, he has not considered you who is going to see the painting. You are not taken in account at all. He has simply vomited his own madness on the canvas. It is simply a vomit. Hence, you cannot go on looking at a Picasso painting for a long time. You will start feeling tense. Your stomach will start feeling weird. Because Picasso is not concerned with you, what happens to you. He is simply subjective. He is pouring his own mind, what is happening to him. Unconcerned about humanity or anybody. He is going crazy, that's why his painting is crazy. Almost all the painters in the West have gone once or twice in life mad and have been put into mad asylums. Many of the Western painters have committed suicide. This has never happened in the East. Not a single instance in 10,000 years that a painter, a musician, a poet has been mad or has committed suicide. The reason is it was art on the surface, but meditation in depth. In the West, it is just surface. There is nothing in depth. There is no depth in it. And the surface is without any compassion, without any consideration, without any responsibility. When you compose music or poetry, you are to understand that somebody will be reading it. What effect it is going to have on the person? Will it drive him sane or insane? I myself have been very much interested in painting. From my very childhood, I started but not a single painting I have left intact. I have burned all of them. One of my professors, who was a painter himself, I used to visit his studio. And I used to say sometimes that this seems to be wrong. That if you do a little change here, the whole impact of the painting will be different. He started asking me that, are you a painter? Because whatsoever you suggest, reluctantly I do it, but certainly it improves the painting. And by I have dropped my reluctance. I simply accept your suggestion. But this is possible only if you are a painter, because there are so many people coming here. Even my own students who are painters never suggest that this is wrong. That just a slight change will do a miracle. And it does. So you have to accept to me the truth. I said, yes, I am not a painter, but I paint. He said, what is the difference in being a painter and painting? I said, there is much difference, because I don't allow my paintings for exhibitions, because I am still not in a position to create objective art. They are all subjective. They represent and reflect my mind, and what my mind can be to others. They are already burdened with mind. Now burdening them more is inhuman. So I paint because I enjoy painting. I love colors. And I don't know why Sagar University in India, I have traveled all over India continuously for 30 years, but I have never seen such colors in the sky as it happens on the lake by the side of the university in Sagar. Never I have seen anywhere such splendor. Sunrise, sunsets are just divine, without there being any God. I painted and destroyed my paintings. Only few friends have seen them. I allowed this professor to see few of my paintings. He said, "You are mad. These paintings are far superior than mine. You can earn so much money. You can become world famous." I said, "I accept your first statement. You said you are mad. I am. That's why I am not going to leave these footprints of a madman for others to travel and follow. I have destroyed all those. I loved poetry. I have written poetry. But I continued to destroy. My basic standpoint was that unless I am no more, whatever I do is going to harm others. This is the Eastern way. Now this is unfortunate that when I disappeared, the desire to paint or to make a statue or to compose poetry, they all disappeared too. Perhaps they were just part of that madman who died. And I am happy that nothing of it survives. In the East, they had reached 5,000 years before to such a peak in every direction and dimension that only religion was left to be an adventure. So those who had any adventurous spirit were attracted towards religion. The best, the chosen ones, the most intelligent, the genius, the giants became interested towards religion because nothing else was there left. These people like Mahavira, Krishna, Buddha, Nagarjuna, Shankara, these people gave tremendous heights to religion. And all the best minds moved towards religion because that was the only challenge left. Everything else was being done by mediocre people. And they were doing perfectly well. There was no need. If Einstein was born in Buddha's time, he would have been another Buddha. For the simple reason, because that was the only challenge for a man like him. Mathematics was done by mediocre people. And they were doing perfectly well. There was no need for an Albert Einstein to get caught into a mediocre game. No, he would have moved in the same way as Buddha or Mahavira. All the best people were attracted towards religion. That's why religion touched pinnacles of height. But science was ignored, consciously ignored. Because the people who has reached to religious consciousness, they could see the destructiveness of science. They changed the direction of science. Rather than science becoming allopathy, in the East it became Ayurveda. It became acupuncture. It became yoga. These are the same people who in the West have created allopathy. The same kind of minds. But in the East they created acupuncture. They created herbal sciences. The word for medical science in the East is Ayurveda. Even the word will show you the difference. In the West you call it medicine. Medicine means curing, healing. But can you see the implication? It does not mean health. It comes after disease has already come in. It is a follow-up. First you are sick, then comes the doctor. Doctor follows sickness with his bag of medicines. Ayurveda means science of life. The very word has nothing to do with disease, sickness. It has something to do with life, health, longevity. It is positive, it is not negative. It shows you the way how to remain healthy, how to remain as long as you want young. How to live longer, if that's what you want. Its focus is not on sickness. Its focus is on health. In China, Confucius advised the Emperor of China that doctors should be paid not for curing a sick man. That is dangerous, because that means the doctor will like people to be sick so that he can cure. If everybody remains healthy, then only doctor will be sick. He will die of hunger. So to create a system in which doctor is paid by curing and healing people is to create a dilemma. The doctor's business is to cure people, but his prayers will be that people should fall sick. There should be as many epidemics as possible. One doctor came to Mullah Nasruddin and said that you have not paid. I visited 8 times to cure your child from smallpox. Neither you have paid for my 8 visits, nor you have paid for my medicines. And you have some nerve. You go on in front of my medical clinic as if you own it. Nasruddin said, you should remember that who started the epidemic? It was my child. You should pay me. Who made the whole school sick? In fact, I own your medical clinic. My boy has done so much for you, and not even gratitude. You should pay me. And remember that. If the doctor is paid by people being sick, then Nasruddin is perfectly right, logically right. His boy has done such a great job making the whole city sick. All the doctors should pay to him. Confucius suggested that doctors should be paid for keeping people healthy, not for curing. Everybody should have a personal physician. Everybody should register himself with one physician as his personal physician, and he should pay him every month a certain amount of money for keeping him healthy. If he becomes sick, the money is not to be paid to the doctor anymore. If the doctor cannot cure him, then the doctor has to pay, because he is not able to cure him, and he has to go to another doctor. Till he becomes healthy again, the doctor has to pay his medicines, his doctors, anything that is needed. He turned the whole direction. This is how it happened in the East with every science. Science in the service of humanity, in the service of health, life. Yoga is devoted to make you almost a citadel against sickness. One who practices yoga is not supposed to be sick. If he is sick, that means whatever he is doing with yoga, something is basically wrong. One Hippocrate in India is Satya Sai Baba. I call him a hypocrite because he knows nothing of yoga. There is nothing wrong if you don't know anything of yoga. I don't know. I can afford to be sick. Nobody can object. It is my birthright to be sick. I don't know yoga. But he himself declares himself a great yogi. Then the problem arises. Then for his appendix operation, he has to go to Goa secretly. And he has to pay 10 times more to the doctor because the secret should not be known. Because an great yogi going for operation, what control he has got over his physiology. But it is difficult to hide, because his whole ashram became curious where Baba has disappeared. His own people became curious where he has gone. And after the operation, he has to rest for 2-3 days in Goa. And they found out, and the media and the press, everybody was there, and the doctor has to confess that he has done the operation. It indicates something. It says that yoga is basically transforming your body in such a way that your resistance for sickness increases 1,000-fold. It becomes impossible for sickness to enter you. This was a positive change in science. Tantra is basically a spiritual sexuology, because man's mind is perverted throughout the world by religions teaching repression of sex. Tantra is the only science which teaches you expression of sex, but not as indulgence, but as a spiritual discipline. This is a transformation of a biological phenomenon into spirituality. For example, Ramakrishna was one of the great tantrikas of this century. The story is beautiful. He got his first glimpse of superconsciousness when he was only 14. But that age, 14, is also the age when sexuality starts its journey. And he got his first experience of superconsciousness at the same time. He was coming home from the field. It was evening. And he was passing the lake that was between his hut and the field. Rainy season was just hanging over. Black clouds had gathered over the lake. Soon it was going to rain, so he was rushing towards his house. And just at that moment, he saw a line of white cranes flying above the lake against the backdrop of black clouds. It was a tremendously silent and beautiful moment, and both were reflected in the lake, silent lake, the black clouds and the white crane in a line flying. He was struck by the beauty of the moment, fell down and became unconscious. And from that day he became a different person. He was only 14. His parents certainly became worried. The whole village became worried. Something has to be done. And the boy is almost talking like a madman. Who would think of a 14-year-old child if he starts speaking like the seers of the Upanishads, and he talks as if he is a great wise man? They simply thought that he has gone crazy. This boy we know. Just the other day he was just an ordinary boy, and just in one day he has become a sage. So they all thought, as it is thought all over in India, that if some trouble arises like this, the best way is marriage. It is almost the medicine for every kind of sickness. Perhaps the reason is that whenever you are in pain, if something of a bigger trouble happens, you forget the pain. For example, you have a headache and your house starts burning. Do you think you will remember about the headache? You will forget all about the headache. That simply means you needed a bigger headache, that's all. So marriage is thought to be the cure of all kinds of sickness in India. But the parents were little concerned. They thought that he is not going to say yes. He will not agree. But there seems to be nothing else. The whole village suggests only one thing: marriage. So they asked finally. His name at that time was Gadadhar. Ramakrishna he became when he became enlightened, and his name was changed by his master. They asked Gadadhar, would you like to be married? He said yes. Why not? Even great seers have married. They said he is really crazy, completely crazy. Great seers were married, he is saying. He does not know anything about marriage. And he says, yes, why not? But the whole village says, if he is saying yes, then why not? Let him be married. And marriage will bring him to his senses. All these great seers and strange things that he talks about, he will forget. He needs a beautiful girl. It is just the age, they said. He is a little early. And it is just sexual upheaval in his mind that he is talking all these things. So they arranged for him to see the girl. Just in the next village, there was a beautiful girl. And Gadadhar was so happy when he was dressed in new clothes, and almost a procession went to the other village to see the girl. His mother has put one silver rupee in his pocket, just in case you need. They were poor people. 1 rupee was too much. The girl came, the way it happens in India. The girl comes to put food in your plates. That is the time you see her. When the girl came to put food in the plate of Ramakrishna, he took out his 1 rupee and put in her feet and touched her feet and said, "Mother, you are really beautiful." The seers have said rightly. His family and the villagers that have come, they said, "This boy, even marriage cannot cure him. He is beyond. Look at the nonsense. His own wife, he is touching her feet, putting the rupee, and is saying that the great seers have said rightly that the woman is always a mother." The family of the girl was also in a dilemma what to do. This boy seems to be crazy and looks nice, beautiful. The way he has behaved, no boy has ever behaved. But they were poor. And this was a good chance. They married the girl. And Ramakrishna continued to have the same relationship his whole life. His wife, Sharda, remained his mother. He continued to call her mother. He practiced Tantra with Sarda. He will put Sarda naked on a high pedestal and sit underneath, just like a devoted son. This was an old and ancient method of Tantra, that if you can see in a beautiful naked woman is still your mother, and no desire arises, or if it arises, you simply watch it to pass. It will pass because nothing remains in the mind static forever. The mind is in a constant flux. Nothing remains stable. So don't be worried. If anything comes, just be watchful. But underneath, let the basic idea remain, that of the mother. Yes, in the beginning there were ideas. Ramakrishna was young and sexuality was there. But he watched. And he watched year in, year out, with the basic concepts clear. Slowly, slowly, all those ideas, when they are not received well, they start disappearing. If a guest comes and you don't even say hello, how long he is going to come to you? Soon the basic idea remained there. All sex ideas, desires disappeared. Sarda became his mother. It took years. Every night. But it was a double-edged sword. Because he was practicing, Sarda was also practicing. Just an ancient Indian idea. If the husband is moving above sex, then the wife should follow him. She should be a shadow. She never objected. She never said anything that what nonsense is this. As Ramakrishna grew, Sarda was also growing. Their growth was simultaneous. So much so that when Ramakrishna died, as it is a custom in India, the wife becomes a widow. She cannot use any symbols of a married woman, bangles, a tika, colored clothes, only white saris, without borders. But Sarda did not follow anything of it. She continued to wear the bangles, colored saris, continued to use the red mark on the forehead which declares that the woman is married and her husband is alive. People objected. She said, "You may not know, but I know he is alive. I know. And my relationship with him remains the same as it was always. I am his mother, he is my son." They said, "This woman also has gone mad with that madman. He was mad, that was certain, but we never knew that he will drive this woman also mad." Tantra is a scientific methodology. It has many techniques how to transform sex. Yoga is scientific physiology. It has methods how to make your body almost impossible to be sick. It gives you control over the body, that you can live as long as you want and you can decide your own death whenever you want. science was there, but in a totally different dimension. It was not devoted to war and politicians. In the West, it is the same consciousness, but West is very new. Science is only 300 years old. And West is so new that when the East was at its peak of culture and richness, West was just barbarous. It was simply fighting with nature just to survive. That's how the famous doctrine became so important. Survival of the fittest. In the East, they were thinking of transcending life to attain eternal life. In the West, it was a question of survival. The climate was harsh, cold. The land was not fertile. Most of the year, the sun was not available. Man was fighting with nature to survive. There was no possibility for religion. Life was at risk. Who is going to think of eternal life? Even moment to moment survival was difficult. In fact, this curse turned out to be a blessing in the end, because East became very, very relaxed, good climate, warm climate, good soil, enough of everything. People became non-fighting. They dropped weapons. They forget about weapons. There was no need. West became strong. It started creating empires. It was not very difficult for a small country like England, which is just as big as a district of India, not even a state, managed the biggest empire in the world. It was said that in British Empire the sun never sets. Somewhere or other it is always rising. The empire was around the world. And the people who controlled this whole empire, what gave them the strength? The fight with nature, the continuous fight for survival. And when you have nothing to lose, you have a certain strength. When you have everything to lose, you are weak. You are afraid. Because in fight, the other party is not going to lose anything. If you win nothing. From India, never in the whole history people came out to conquer any country. Never. They never invaded anybody. Who bothers? They had so much. And the poor people around, to invade them was just inhuman. And for what? Taking unnecessary responsibility over your head to feed them, to clothe them. India never invaded anybody. And India was invaded by almost everybody. Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, Arabians, everybody who was capable of fighting made his way to India. That was the easiest place to be victorious. These people, Spaniards, English, French, Portuguese, they had not much resistance in India. Almost no resistance. People were not interested in fighting. The logic is clear. In fighting, they will be only the losers. And the people who have come, they have nothing. So rather than fighting, they simply let them control the country. And they have become so relaxed for thousands of years. It was impossible suddenly to become warriors again. It needs training. Centuries of training. So West found a blessing in disguise. The climate was antagonistic, but it made the people strong, hard, cruel, cunning, inhuman. That became their strength. They were not interested in religion. They were interested in becoming more strong. They were interested in creating bigger empires. They were interested in being all powerful. Because their own land was poor. They wanted other people's land. Their own country was not of any worth. You can see it. As the British Empire has disappeared, England is going down the drain every day. England must be now in the most depressive state than any other country in the world, even Ethiopia included. In Ethiopia, people are dying. In England, they are not dying, but they are dead. Which is worse? Dying is clean, but dead with your umbrella. And England has no hope now, because that old empire cannot come back. The whole situation has changed. England is no more a power. Now Russia is a power. America is a power. China is a power. But England is almost nobody. Why they go on keeping England on the map? I wonder. It should not be in the map. Finished is finished. But there was a day when England was the very center of the world. London was the world capital. Now it is the ugliest city. Most depressive. It is impossible to smile in London. Just the climate won't allow you. And if you smile, then a crowd will gather. What has happened? Why this man is smiling? Laughter is unheard of. Everybody is sad and with a long face. This was the situation of the whole West. They needed science, and destructive science, because they were fighting and creating empires all around the world. They needed more and more superior weapons to kill, to destroy, to invade. They gave science a turn which is destructive, which has brought you to the very verge of a third world war. And they were not interested in religion, because religion is possible only in a very relaxed climate, in a very relaxed milieu of your soul, when everything is fulfilled and you don't have anything else to do than just sitting silently. To sit silently, certainly you need every other need to be fulfilled. In the West, they have the proverb that the empty mind is devil's workshop. Obviously, the West could not afford the empty mind. It has to be condemned. The West would not have allowed anybody just sitting silently, doing nothing. It was a question of life and death, and you are sitting silently doing nothing. And you say, and the grass grows by itself. But what we are going to do with grass? The wheat does not grow by itself. And we need wheat, we need rice, we need food. We need machine guns, we need aeroplanes. They don't grow by themselves. It is possible only in a very different milieu, where you can say sitting silently doing nothing and the grass grows by itself and you can be understood. In the East, the empty mind is the ultimate experience of existence. When you are empty, it is not devil's workshop. When you are not empty, then you are devil's workshop. The whole West emphasizing do something has become a devil's workshop. They go on telling to their children, don't sit silently, do something. Nobody says to them, don't do anything, just sit silently. That is possible only when you have enough luxury that you can allow your children to sit silently. You can enjoy sitting around a bonfire, gossiping, sipping tea. You can sit by the fireplace playing on your guitar, listening to poetry, reading Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat. But for that, you need first food, clothes, house, enough wood for the fireplace. When everything else is available, then only mind starts searching for the truth. In the East, everything was available. There is no difference of consciousness in the East and the West. The difference was in the climate, in the geography, in the situation. The difference was outside, not inside. Hence, religion became the only challenge in the East, and science became the only challenge in the West. But now, the situation is totally different. East has fallen into bankruptcy, which is natural. That too is a law to be understood. When you are affluent, luxurious, religion is born. Once religion is born, immediately religion starts teaching you to be poor. That's a very strange thing, but there is some inner consistency in it. When you are luxurious and the whole country is enjoying and eating and drinking and be merry, is their only religion. Naturally, those who attain to samadhi and superconsciousness, they start condemning. That what are you doing? Wasting your life, eating, drinking and marrying. And you think this is life. Stop all this nonsense. Renounce it. because the real life is something else which you are missing. So they become against all comfort, all luxury, all richness. And when the best minds of a country, those who are loved by people, respected by people, those who have charismatic influence on people, if they are all saying renounce all this, they don't know what they are doing. They don't know why they have been able to find truth. They have been able to find truth because of all this luxury and comfort and richness. It gave them an opportunity to sit silently, not be worried about anything, not to do anything. There was no question of surviving, so they could inquire into eternal life. That's why I say Buddha, Mahavir, Krishna, all are right in some way, but wrong in some other ways. And we have to see what wrong they have committed. This was their fallacy. They forgot the ladder themselves that has brought them to this peak, and they started condemning those people who were on the same ladder but on lower rungs. That you idiots, why you are clinging to the ladder? Renounce the ladder. They had moved away from the ladder, far away. They had renounced the ladder, but they forgot completely that they came to that point of renunciation through the ladder. Without the ladder, they would not have been able to renounce it. What can you renounce if you don't have riches? What can you renounce if you don't have in the first place? The poor cannot renounce. The hungry cannot renounce. So this is a strange circle, a vicious circle. The country becomes rich, people become affluent, then few geniuses start rising higher than the ordinary human consciousness, and they become so enchanted with the bliss, they forget all about the ladder which has led them there. They start condemning everything that is lower. Perhaps their intention is good. They want you to fly as high as they are flying, but they completely forget that without the ladder, these people will simply crawl on the earth. That's what is happening in the East. People are crawling on the earth. They have renounced the ladder because they trusted Buddha, they trusted Mahavira, they trusted Krishna. They renounced the ladder. But the ladder can be renounced from 2 points, either from the first rung or from the last rung. In both the ways you are renouncing the ladder. But if you renounce from the first rung, you will crawl on the earth. The whole East is crawling. It is ugly, disgusting, nauseating. You can also renounce the ladder from the highest rung. That happened only in the life of few people. Now situation has changed. West is affluent, rich, and now facing a great problem. On the one hand, in 300 years it has created science which is destructive. It has helped to exploit the whole world, to spread imperialism, to make empires. It has helped. But all those empires have disappeared. Now, the science is like an old ancient fable. A man found a bottle in the lake. He had gone fishing. In his net with the fishes came a bottle also. He looked in the bottle. He was amazed. There was a very tiny man inside. And not only that, the tiny man said, if you open the bottle, I can serve you in any way you want. I am not so tiny. I have been cursed and closed in this bottle. But the man who had cursed me has said that if somebody opens the bottle and takes you out, you will be free from the curse. And I have been waiting in this lake for centuries. It is just by coincidence that you have caught me. Now please, I am a jinn. You open the bottle and I will do everything you want. And the poor man thought that this is good opportunity. He opened the bottle. Great smoke came out of the bottle, and with the smoke, almost like a cloud, was the jinn. The man looked now so small before the jinn, and the jinn said from the sky, now I am free. Thank you making me free. I will do everything. I will be your servant. But one condition, I cannot sit silently. I need work continuously, 24 hours, day out, day in. If you cannot give me work, I will kill you. The man said, don't be worried, I will give you work. But what work you can do? The jinn was such, you give him some work, any work. You were thinking that at least for a few hours he will leave you. Within seconds he is back. The work is done. You tell him to make a palace, within hours he is back. The palace is ready. Work. He was driving the man crazy. Within 2-3 days, the man thought, I am going to be killed, because he could not even think of anything more. All that he could imagine, he told him and he did it. He said, wait. I have an appointment with a wise man. Till then you clean the palace and the garden and I will be coming. He ran to the wise man and asked, save me, because this is my last day. I don't think that by the evening I will be alive. Because all the works that I could think he has done. You tell me what I am to do. He said, nothing to be worried. You take this ladder and tell that idiot that go up, go down, go up, go down. Let him do that. No other work. Just go up, come down. The jinn is still doing that. The man is died long ago. But the jinn continues because he needs work. Science has proved almost the jinn in the bottle. West opened it. It served beautifully. It did miracles. It made the whole world a slave under the West. For the first time, there was really one world dominated by a few people. Otherwise, in India itself, in Buddha's time, there were 2,000 nations just in India. But this 300 years of scientific technological growth gave the West so much power that nobody could stand against it. But now science is threatening West itself. Those empires have disappeared. They had to disappear. How long you can exploit people? A moment comes when you have exploited them so much that now they are hungry, starving. They become a responsibility and a burden on you. Never be befooled by the historians and the politicians who go on saying that India, Pakistan, China, Burma, these countries became independent because of their freedom struggle. Nonsense. The reality is that all these empires became burdens on the imperialists. England could not manage India anymore. Now it was not a place to exploit. You have exploited enough. You have taken everything. Now the situation was the reverse. The country was a responsibility on you. You have to feed them. You have to make schools for them. You have to make hospitals for them. If you don't make, you are condemned by the whole world. It was time somehow to get rid of these people. But how to get rid of these people? These idiots themselves started that we want to be free. If I was there, but I was too young. And nobody hears me even now. So at that time, certainly nobody was going to hear to me. I used to say to my parents, because they were all for freedom, they all had been to jails, they all have been beaten, tortured, I used to tell to my uncles, my father, my grandfather that it is all nonsense. What you are going to get, freedom. Freedom is not food. Freedom is not clothes. Freedom is not science. Freedom is not technology. In fact, your freedom struggle is really greatly needed by Britain. They want you to fight for freedom, then they can give you freedom, and they gave it without much trouble. They simply gave it. They wanted to give it. They were really finding a right time so that it is understood that you have asked for it. We have not given it. You were fighting for it. You forced us, so we gave it to you. And slowly the same happened in Africa, in other parts of Asia, where there were no freedom struggle either. There too freedom came. It had to come. How much you can exploit? In India, people worship cows. They cannot kill them and they cannot sell them to butchers. But there is a time when the cow becomes old, it gives no milk, no children. Now it is a burden to feed it. They are so poor they cannot feed themselves. How can they feed these cows and these buffaloes? And they cannot sell them either. They make them free. They simply leave them on the roads. Nobody knows whose those cows are. That's what has happened. Cows have become free. They no more give milk, they no more give anything. What to do with them? So in Africa, in Ethiopia, in India, in Burma, in Thailand, cows are on the streets dying, hungry. They cannot even now condemn anybody that it is you because you are making us slaves, that's why we are dying. Now there is nobody to condemn either. It is their own responsibility. So the empires had to die a natural death. Now the science is there, like the jinn asking for more work, otherwise I will kill you. And that's where the West is facing a great crisis. This crisis is going to be very decisive. The West either will have to commit a suicide, and of course with the West, the East will die. It cannot survive separate from the West. It needs all the technology of the West for productive and creative things. So if the West turns the whole trend of science towards creativity and drops this idiotic idea of war, then both the things will happen. Science will take a new dimension as it took once in the East. And the second thing will also happen. Because if you are no more preparing for war and wasting your 75 to 80% energy, life, money for preparing to destroy, if that 80% energy is released for eat, drink and be merry, if that 80% energy is released to go to the Zorba the Buddha, then soon there will be people arising, flying higher, reaching to the topmost layers of human consciousness. Both the things are possible. Science can be turned into creativity, and that creativity will make you capable of rising into religious consciousness. And this time it need not be East and West. This time it can be one earth, our home.